Hi, young readers. Today we're going to finish Mercy Watson Goes for a Ride. Okay, so we're going to start on chapter 12. Okay, so in the first couple chapters, we learned that Mercy and Mr. Watson go for a ride every Saturday. Okay, and their neighbor, Baby Lincoln, thinks it's fun, but her older sister, Eugenia Lincoln, doesn't like it. She thinks it's silly, folly. Okay. And we learned that this Saturday, Baby Lincoln was hiding in the backyard. And then Mercy jumped in front of Mr. Watson and started driving the car. And the police came looking for them, okay? The police are chasing them right now, okay? So let's see what happens here. Here's the bad situation. Chapter 12. The car screeched. The car shuddered. The car careened. The car caroomed. And finally, the car stopped. Baby Lincoln was pressing the brake. Mercy was very surprised. Suddenly, she was not driving the car. Suddenly, she was not even in the car. Suddenly, Mercy was airborne. Mr. Watson was wearing a seatbelt. He did not fly out of the car. Baby Lincoln was wearing her seatbelt. She did not fly out of the car. Officer Tomilello was safe in his police cruiser. He did not fly out of his car. Only Mercy flew. Wear your seatbelts, okay? Oh dear, said Baby. It's an emergency, shouted Mr. Watson. Alert the fire department. Was that pig wearing a seatbelt? Officer Tomilello asked. No, he answered himself. That pig most certainly was not. Officer Tomilello talks to himself. Okay. Have laws been broken here? Asked Officer Tomilello. Most certainly, most definitely, laws have been broken here. Mr. Watson and Baby Lincoln and Officer Tomilello watched Mercy fly. They watched her land. Oof. Mr. Watson got out of the car. He ran to Mercy. He wrapped his arms around her and held her tight. My darling, my dear, he said, please tell me that you are all right. Oink, said Mercy. She snuffled Mr. Watson's neck. Hooray, said Baby, she's fine. Oh, thank you, said Mr. Watson. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He bent his head and covered the tips of Mercy's ears with kisses. The tips of her ears. Officer Tomilello was like, what? What's happening here? Hey! You are a miracle, a prodigy, a dear, Mr. Watson said. You are a porcine wonder. But even porcine wonders cannot drive. In fact, porcine wonders should never be allowed to drive. Ever. Mercy sighed. She was glad the ride was over. She felt a tiny bit dizzy and a little bit dazed. She wanted very much to go home. Chapter 13. Eugenia Lincoln and Mrs. Watson stood together on the Watsons' front porch. They watched a police car pull into the driveway. Mr. Watson and Mercy and Baby Lincoln were all in the back seat. Mr. Watson. Mercy, Baby. As I suspected, said Eugenia. Trouble, folly, and that pig is right in the middle of it. Oh, said Mrs. Watson, my darlings, my dears. She ran out to the police car. I am so glad that you are home. The toast was starting to get cold. Mr. Watson and Baby Lincoln got out of the car. We have had something of an adventure, Mrs. Watson, Mr. Watson said. Yes, said Baby, we have had an adventure, sister. Folly, replied Eugenia Lincoln. Yes, agreed Baby Lincoln happily. Folly. Laws have been broken, said Officer Tomilello. Pig, shouted Eugenia. Excuse me, said Officer Tomilello. Officer Tomilello thinks Eugenia called him a pig, but no. It's all that pig's fault, said Eugenia. She pointed at Mercy. Mercy climbed out of the car. She puts her nose up in the air. She sniffed. Could it be? Yes, it was toast! Toast with a great deal of butter on it. What could be better? Chapter 14. Laws have been broken, said Officer Tomilello. Tickets must be written. Officer, do you like toast? Mrs. Watson asked. Toast? Said Officer Tomilello. Do I like toast? Why, yes, I do. I do like toast. Why don't you come inside and have some? Asked Mrs. Watson. Why don't I come inside and have some toast? Asked Officer Tomilello. Said Officer Tomilello. I can't think of a reason not to. Lovely, said Mrs. Watson. She clapped her hands together. Yay! Right, this way. What nonsense, grumbled Eugenia Lincoln. Can't talk today. What nonsense, grumbled Eugenia Lincoln. Toast is not the answer. No, sister, said Baby Lincoln, but it does smell heavenly. She took hold of Eugenia's hand. Well, said Eugenia, it has been expertly buttered. Good. And Officer Tomilello is going to go eat some toast. And so, that Saturday, Officer Tomilello and Eugenia Lincoln and Baby Lincoln and Mr. and Mrs. Watson and Mercy Watson all sat around the table together and ate hot buttered toast. Did Mercy Watson have extra helpings? She did. And so did Officer Tomilello. There's crumbs on the table. Friends with toast, okay? Okay, that's the end. Look for book 3 later. Bye-bye.